I've been chief exec for 12 years now, and during that time, I suppose I've really appreciated and had been very fortunate with sort of Pauline being the more recent chair, and is that it's probably for me the most important relationship that I have in my role. And I think that it's, the environment we work in is quite tough. We're dealing with lots of complex issues. And I suppose you often hear about the chief exec's role being sort of isolated. And I suppose the main thing for me is it never feels like that, as long as you've got a really sort of a trusting confidant that you can really go to, not with all the positive things, but actually really to explore the things that I haven't yet fully decided upon, or in that early stages. And I think being able to then work together to explore from different points of view, sort of really respecting and valuing that sort of the experience that Pauline brings from her own career and her other sort of governance roles, is that, because I think the danger is that if there is an expectation that you have everything fully formed, that's quite limiting for me. So I think that's the one I've really enjoyed, and that's what I'd be really looking for in terms of the future chair, is space in a really trusting, safe environment to explore it. But
yeah, I mean, obviously I was being a CEO myself, so I could understand the world from Neil's perspective, and I also had the benefit of being chair of another care and support organisation. So being able to explore things with him is, I see as an important part of the role. And sometimes we'll explore things and they won't go anywhere. But that's fine, because that's the right thing to happen. And nobody else needs to know, because we've, between us, decided, well, actually, that's not the right way forward. But other times where there's difficult decisions that need to be made, for Neil to understand that I'm on board with those decisions can be really helpful in terms of him being able to see some of the tough stuff through.
And I think the thing for me is I've really appreciated through my tenure as chief exec the real importance of governance and the board. And I've sat as a board member in other organisations, so I've seen it in various different angles over the years. But I think that's I really do respect the role that a board brings in that governance space. I haven't always seen that everywhere in other organisations, but I think that's the thing, is you're not trying to spin a story to the board.
No.
You're trying to be really honest. And I think when you have that real honest, authentic relationship, that it brings everything together in the really perfect way. And I think that we've achieved that, because I think the other thing I'd say around the role of chair is that I respect the role that Pauline has, is to manage her own team with the board of really 11 other board members. That's tough, because actually it's a bigger team than I've got, and you don't meet them so often. So I think it's that mutual respect of our respective roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, and I think the confidence of the board comes from the fact that there's a very transparent relationship between the board and the C-suite. There's never any moments where anybody thinks something's been hidden, or, that we know that if something's not going quite as it should do, we'll be the first to know about it, and we'll come up with a way forward together. And there's been there's been a number of examples of that throughout the life of this particular board.
We respect each other's roles, and sort of the lines in the sand, I think is a really important aspect. And I think you have to play that out a bit as well. I see my role isn't just to manage the organisation, but to really support the board to be the best it can possibly be. So I think that works. In terms of the personal relationship, I think it is really that it has to have some fun in it as well.
True.
In that actually we meet in person like once every month, and that to me is a vital aspect of it. It's my protected space. I actually look forward to that time, because I know it's where I get my sort of like injection of input. But actually it's the ability to actually sometimes really sort of think about things from different angles, and actually, have some humour in that as well. And there isn't a lot of humour in all the roles we have. So, and I think that's the type of thing, is that we're bringing our best selves and our genuine selves to that. And I think that works really well for me.
And boundaries are absolutely important. And, the discussions that we have, as I say, we don't always agree on things. But we've got the ability to have a good debate. We listen to each other, reflect, and then we'll move on to in the right direction usually.
And I think just on that, we've learned how to manage the relationship as that, and that's been through some times where we haven't quite got it right, and that we've used that as a really valuable learning opportunity. Sometimes not immediately, but actually we've been able to come back and then just explore that. How was that from both parties? And then sort of agree how we take that forward. So it's like, it's the value of, it's better to have picked up the phone, to have had the conversation, as opposed to putting things in an email. Is one of the important things. Absolutely. And I think that it's that person-to-person relationship you build. And I think that's true of any sort of like really sort of maturing sort of like, how good leadership works across. But it's known that we don't always get it right the first time, but our intentions are really strong and very sort of based in sort of the values we're both trying to achieve. So, yeah.
And Neil has been massively supportive of me in my role, as he sort of said earlier. Leading the board can be tricky. Stewardship is tricky. You've got to lead in an authentic way, but you've got to be curious, you've got to be bold, and making the right decisions at the right time for an organisation. We've got scarce resources, so the choices the board makes are really, really tricky. And we've got to get that right. And I do believe the partnership between Neil and myself and the board and the C-suite generally means that we've got some really strong governance in this organisation.
Yeah, and as we move forward for the new chair that will join us, that we haven't finished all the work. There is so much more to do.
There is.
In terms of governance, we've got a maturity matrix. We're continually trying to improve how we do things, and they will take over that piece of work. But more the fact that there are going to be some big decisions in the years ahead, and I think that we really, Pauline will hand over that baton in a really strong place. But actually what I'd look forward to is actually really having that sort of really good relationship to think about some of the big decisions we'll need to make. And that's our roles really, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes it's making they're not the easy decisions, but we're making them in the best interests and with the right values.
Yeah. So. And it'll be a great role for the next chair to step into. It really, really will.
I think that's a good one about we really learnt on that even in this last 6 months, and that we had some development work with us as the two teams that come together. And what we've really realised, it's not just relying on the written reports that people receive, it's the generative discussions that we've had. So Pauline has trialled some new way of doing that at our last board meeting, and it worked really successfully, which is sort of taking the opportunity to step back and have a discussion. And I think that's the type of thing that can really work far better. Is otherwise, if it's just set meetings in the set format, I think that what we've really tried to do is to think about new ways to have those really difficult conversations. There is never a simple answer. It's never black and white. I think we're working in the grey of the world with difficult things. I think that's why that's worked really well.
It has, and I think we've always managed to work through issues by the quality of the debates that we have and agreeing a consensus. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody's 100%. But actually, they're convinced enough to support the initiative, and that's as much as you can expect with 12 different board members.
And I think the work we respect, put into that ahead of when we come together as a C-suite. So I work with my C-suite to make sure they've fully had the opportunity to explore the issues, not just to come as a single voice, but actually to make sure I've done that prep work. And I know that you reach out to board members ahead of meetings. So we're bringing our best selves as a respective big group, because it's obviously that's 16 people coming together. That's always, but I think that's the bit we make sure we've done our respective prep with our teams that come together, so that actually we can have that best quality of conversation.
Because the thing we want to achieve is the C-suite is able to go away and act with confidence, knowing that they've got our support to improve things within Southdown. So.
Well, as sad as it will be to see Pauline go, I think that the thing is that this will be my 25th year, and I'm probably as committed, if not more committed, to what we can achieve as an organisation as we go forward. So I think that genuinely, the work that we've done over the last year to develop our strategy is brilliant, and we've got a plan of action to bring that forward. That's going to involve some bold decisions. We were just talking this morning about what that might mean. And I think that generally we are all custodians. Pauline's been a custodian as the chair. I'm a custodian of the organisation as the chief exec. So we all want to pass on the organisation in its best possible way, but actually very true to its sort of values and mission. So I think that I don't quite know what that will look like in 5-10 years' time, but that excites me, because I think it will be that's the journey we'll go on. But I know that it will be the best possible thing for the organisation.
And the organisation is very lucky in having a chief executive like Neil, because he does constantly move with the times, which sounds a little bit of a cliche, but it's absolutely true. The Neil that sits before you now is not the Neil of 12 years ago. He has moved and grown, and his influence within the sector has grown. So, I know it's in good hands in terms of him as the CEO, and I'm sure that we will get a super chair to pick up the baton.
I've been really fortunate to have had the experience of having a really good chair, and it's really helped me grow. So I think it's enormous respect of Pauline, that what she's brought, but I think she's brought out the best in me, actually. And I think that when you've seen it, so tough shoes to fill, but actually that in itself is really exciting for the person that takes over, I think. So
Absolutely. And whilst I'll be sad to go, I do live locally, and I will be watching from the sidelines with great joy.
Yeah.